When I was applying to medical school, I wanted to know well in advance how much everything was going to cost. So we're going to break all of that down in this video. If you're new here, my name's Maggie. I'm a fourth year medical student at the University of Colorado. The second time I applied, I earned 10 medical school acceptances despite a 3.3 GPA. This YouTube channel and all of It's Life by Maggie is just me wanting to share everything I learned the hard way so you don't have to. With this video, first things first, be sure to download my pre-med planner. The link will be below, but you'll have everything in one place if you take notes from this video about budgeting for the cost of applying in it, because there's a notes section, and then you'll also have monthly to-dos for the upcoming application cycle and all the deadlines. So it'll be perfect. Download that, and then we'll head to screen share and start talking about all the costs. You can't apply to medical school without taking the MCAT, so I thought we would start there. Also, just to note, I'm going to show you like where to find this information, like straight from the horse's mouth, I guess, because this changes year to year. I'm sure within 6 weeks of posting this, one of these numbers are going to change, and within 2 years of posting this, I know a lot of them are going to change. So I just want to show you where to find this information so you know where to go when things change or each year, and you have the most updated way to find these numbers. And let's get started. Okay, so for the MCAT, the registration fee, again, this, like, I just looked 2 weeks ago and it's already changed since then. So for this one, a lot of these are going to be on the AAMC's website. So you can see right now, UWorld even is not fully updated. It's very, very recent that this changed. So actually it is now $345. So AAMC's website here, MCAT scheduling fees, this is where you go to find the most updated info or what it's changed to each year. So for 2025 testing dates, it's going to be $345 for standard registration. If you do qualify for fee assistance, it's going to be $140. I'm not going to include, like, I'm not going to add the fee assistance calculations to the spreadsheet we're going to go through, but just know that it exists and make sure each year, like if you've looked at it a year ago and you're like, oh, I'm not going to meet the requirements to get it, just check again every year in the year that you apply, because it does change slightly. The first time that I applied, I didn't qualify. And then the second time I applied during COVID and they had slightly tweaked it and I did qualify, and it makes a huge difference when it comes to secondaries and primaries. And like, so just heads up to make sure you look into that. $345 for registration fee. And then I put in the resources here as well, so we can look at those. For the Kaplan book set, this is what I would recommend for the content review books that you use. And specifically the one I would recommend is this one that is $177, because I actually prefer, I think UWorld is hands down the best question bank. And when it comes to then step 1 studying and step 2 studying, when you are a medical student, you also use UWorld. Like, that's like just the gold standard. So I would pick the one without the Q bank, but definitely make sure you get the one with 3 practice exams, or at least, like, if I were doing it, this is the one I would get. But you can get whatever works best for you. So we'll add 177. And then, like I said, the UWorld Q bank, this is their site. And obviously, you know you best. If you think that you would benefit from an MCAT prep course, then UWorld and Kaplan both have them. Obviously, there's more than just the two, but I would look into it and consider it if you think you would do well with like the accountability or having like a teacher and things like that. For me personally, I like to study on my own and set my own study schedule and routine and go through things on my own. So it's not best for me. So what I would do for me budgeting would be just the MCAT Q bank. And I also, when I'm studying for the MCAT, I like to have a buffer. So even if I were planning to study for only 3 months, you better believe that I'm not going to get the thing where it expires in 3 months. Because if you got this 90-day access and then you push your test date back and you need it longer than 90 days, it's way more expensive after it expires to like either keep extending it week by week or just buy another 90 days. Heck no, like I would just go ahead and get the 419 right off the bat, and I have it for a year. So there's plenty of buffer and I just peace of mind, basically. 419. Okay, and then next, doing the MCAT section based on exactly like what I would do for the MCAT. So for my phase 2 of studying, and I have a full video on how I study for the MCAT that you can check out too, but I had to get some extra full-length exams, so I would get those from Blueprint. So obviously they have, and I think Blueprint is a fantastic company. They have a lot of great resources, but for me, I just need 4 of their exams. So I think this that has a Q bank. So I would look and find just where their exams are. Okay, it's actually easier to just search Blueprint practice MCAT exams and then go straight to their MCAT exams that they have. Okay, now this is what I want. So I would get 4 practice exams, because that's actually what I got for my MCAT, was 4 practice exams for phase 2 of studying. 3 comes with your book set, and then the AAMC bundle that we'll go to next, 5 comes with that, maybe even 6 now. So just 4 for this phase 2, which is $135. And then I very much recommend, I mean, whether this stuff changes for you, I think everybody should get the AAMC bundle. That's like almost like, obviously it's not a requirement, do whatever you want. I would just highly, highly, highly recommend recommend get this if anything, but I would also highly recommend this stuff. But this is like top dog priority. All right, so I just searched AAMC MCAT complete bundle because the complete bundle comes with a physical copy of one of their books. And I just like physical copies of books. If that is not your preference, then I think you'd save like $30-ish on the other bundle. So this one's $294. And then without the book, it'd be like $260 something. So you can look into all the other MCAT prep stuff they have, but I highly recommend just getting one of the bundle options. So $294 for that. And for me, that's just about everything that the MCAT, like everything that I would need for the MCAT. So that brings the total of MCAT registration fee plus all the study materials is $1,370. So it's not a pretty number to look at, but it is what it is. And you need the MCAT to apply. So there that is. Next thing we want to look at is primary applications. So for the primaries, there's AMCAS, ACOMAS, and then TMD-SAS. So this is for MD schools, this is for DO schools, and then I didn't put TMD-SAS. They're all pretty similar, but originally I was just going to do the one. I was like, okay, let's show two. But there is also TMD-SAS. For the AMCAS, this like increases by like $2 every year. But let's go ahead and look at their site. And I would just honestly type in AMC or AMCAS primary application fees. And here you can see what the current price is. So $175 is to like click submit, and then that includes one school. And then it's $46 for each additional school that you apply to. And if you do qualify for the fee assistance program, then you can apply to 20 schools for free, or at least at the time that I did it. I don't think that's changed, but a lot of schools for free instead of paying that, which is really nice. And then it's just slightly different, actually a little increase for ACOMAS, the application service you would use to apply to DO schools. So ACOMAS application process, and then it should be the first one that pops in if you go to application fees. Okay, so this is what we want. So currently it's $198. That includes submission to one school, and then $57 for each additional school. Okay, so there's our primary application fees, and here I already have it calculated what it would be if you applied to 15, 20, or 25 schools, whether that's to DO or MD schools. So you can see it ranges from $820 to roughly $1,600 if you round. Also, just keep in mind when you're actually spending this money would be around June. So ideally, if you're applying early and you're submitting your applications within a couple weeks of applications opening, then that would be May for ACOMAS and June for AMCAS. This is all also in the pre-med planner in case it's hard to keep track of. So just kind of let it soak in your brain as you listen, and then it's like written down in the pre-med planner. When you're actually spending this money is like May, June, and then end of June is where secondaries come to play. So just know that you're not spending all of this at once. It is slightly like one after the other. And next is secondaries. The first time I applied, I really did not know secondaries even existed, truly. But second time I applied to 28 schools total. So 24 MD and 4 DO, if I remember correctly. And here is like 10 of the schools that I applied to. These are all MD, but I just used this to create an average of what the secondaries would cost. But you can see that secondaries range anywhere from 50 to what's the highest? 135. And I'm sure there's some that are lower, some that are free, although that would be a smaller amount, I'm sure, and some that are higher. But I think this is a good like little range that I used for an average. So what are secondaries? With primaries, you submit one primary application and send it to many schools. Let's say 20 schools. But secondaries, each school that you applied to then sends you their own personalized application with more essays, and then it costs money to submit those. And the average comes out with these for like $203. So you can see that with that average, if you're applying to 15 schools, it's about $1,500, and then up to $2,500 if you're applying to 25 schools. Okay, so next is SJT. So this means situational judgment test, and a good amount of schools, if you're applying to 20, 25, even 15, like half of them, 40% of them, maybe more than half, something along those lines, they're going to require something called a CASPER or the AAMC preview. And both of those are situational judgment tests. And it's questions like you're in a group project and two of the group members come up to you and say, Sally has really bad BO, and they want you to tell Sally that she has bad BO because it's distracting them from being able to do that. So stuff like that. At least for the CASPER, I don't think the preview is like as dramatic. So I'm not going to show you where to find the cost of that because the website's super annoying. You have to have like a verified account and log in. And if you're not logged in, you can't really see it. It's just annoying. So at the time of this recording, it is $85 for that first school, and then $15 per each additional school that you're sending it out to. And like I said, 100 for preview. That is easier to find because it's just on AAMC's website. So I'll show you that. All right. So we just Google AAMC preview exam fee, and this is AAMC. So you know that that is the correct updated amount that it is. And right now it's $100. Okay. And then I also forgot to show you how to find how much secondaries cost. I guess this is another cost, but I use the MSAR just because I have access to it. You probably can find it on each individual's school website, but you're going to want the MSAR anyway for creating your school list. If you're budgeting, just go ahead and pay like 30-ish bucks and you can either get the 1-year access or the 2-year access. And then it's just like super quick and you don't have to go digging for like a needle in a haystack kind of thing. But for secondaries, finding these amounts, I already have it pulled up. So Wake Forest is, nope, that's not Wake Forest. There you go. That's one of the schools I applied to and got accepted at. So you can go to the MSAR and just look at whatever school you want to look at. And then it brings up the page with all the information, and then you scroll down a little bit. Secondary application, they have a whole section for it, and here you can see that their fee amount is $130. So that is where you look to know for your specific schools how much it's going to cost. So not as expensive as MCAT primaries, secondaries, but definitely still something to budget for. If you're applying to 15 schools, it's about $395, or it is $395 because this is an estimate like the others. And then 25 schools would be $545 to budget for sending these out. But although keep in mind too, like if you apply to 25 schools, probably not all 25 schools are going to be requiring this. So maybe even budget, like you could budget for $395 at the most, unless you're applying to like 50 schools, then maybe more than 15 would require it. I don't know, but there's some estimates for you to go off of. And that brings us to the grand total of a rough estimate of how much it would cost to apply to 15, 20, or 25 schools. So ranging from $4,000 to 15 schools, just about $5,000 for 20 schools, and then $5,800 for 25 schools. Other costs to consider. So this is a decent estimate for this stuff, but I just wanted to go over other things to keep in mind. One, if you're doing a bunch of MCAT studying and having to take off work or go to part-time or give people your shifts so you can study more, or when you're doing interviews, if you have to work less because of that, just like, I guess that's not a cost, but you might be making less money during this year of applying. So that's something to consider as well. If you want to do personal statement or essay editing, like have somebody pay them to review your essays and get feedback, that's going to cost anywhere from $50 to $100 to $250 to $500, depending on what company you're going with, or if you're just paying a friend or a med student. Sending official transcripts is honestly like the smallest one. I remember Parchment being $8. And maybe it was like $8 per place you send it to, but you really only send it to the application services. So not terrible, but it is another cost. Interview outfit. This one, like roughly, I would say it could be around $150. I found a Calvin Klein suit on Amazon that I really like, and it's like the best ever, super affordable, and fit better than when I tried to go shopping in person anyway. If you go to in-person interviews, then keep in mind the cost of flying, meals, hotels, taking time off of work, all the things associated with traveling, mock interviews. So I paid a private prep company, so it was like very expensive versus just like paying a med student or something, but it was worth it. It was the second time I was flying. I was like, I got an interview, I want to get in. So I kind of splurged on that part, I guess, if you could say. And that was $750 for 3 hours of mock interviews. So if it's this and this, if it's with a private company, it's going to be a lot. So just know that. And then deposits to hold seats. I didn't really expect this one or know until I had multiple acceptances, but less so for MD schools, more so for DO schools. They might have you pay some amount of money to hold your acceptance. And this could be like really early in the application season. This was like in December, mine were due for a handful of the schools, and you don't actually pick what school you're going to until the following April if you have multiple acceptance. The one MD school, I think it was Neomed, it was like $200. And then the DO schools were like $1,500 and $2,000. All right, that's all I have for you. Hopefully you're not too overwhelmed by watching this, and instead you are just happy that you know in advance what all this is going to cost. If you're curious, all the things that I did to overcome my low GPA and get 10 acceptances, I have a video on that. You can watch that next. And thanks for watching.